Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. Welcome back, Construction Champions. We're here for another amazing episode. I'm your host, Nussbaum, and wherever you're tuning in from YouTube to Spotify to Reese across America, I want to say thank you for being here, listening to our conversation today, and being part of the change of the mindset around the construction industry. You guys don't tune in for me. You tune in for all of our amazing guests. And today, as always, we have a fantastic one. I've gotten to know Derek over the last few years, and he's an amazing individual with a great skill set and a heart for business in the construction industry. Derek, it is fantastic to have you here today.
Yeah, happy to be here and excited to be on the podcast again and be chatting with you about all things construction and business and growth and all that good stuff.
Awesome, man. But before we dive into it, why don't you introduce yourself to all the people that might not know who you are from the last time you were on?
Yep, definitely. So my name's Derek Isaac. My background's in construction, been in the construction industry over 20 years. Started on the tools as, laborer, worked my way up, different management roles, and had my own contracting business for many, many years. Worked in some other larger home building businesses and some light commercial construction projects as well. So got a good wide range of experience in the construction industry. And I've been coaching now for about 7 or 8 years, and it was a transition. It wasn't, a start stop. I was coaching and consulting while still running my contracting business. But I saw a big deficiency in the industry for systems and processes and operations and all that kind of boring stuff that not a lot of contractors really like to get their hands dirty with, so to say. And something comes naturally to me, and I enjoy it. And I saw the big difference it made in my company as well as so many other companies I worked with, and often a big determining factor of long-term success in a contracting business. I contributed quite clearly to the systems and processes and kind of the back end operations of a contracting business. So that's essentially what I do now with my company, Rapid Result Creators. And we've got a small team. We help our clients build out systems, get out of the day-to-day grind, help them reach their long-term goals. And the systems processes are a big thing. That's what we do. But there's also a leadership component with the implementation and the people around the business, of course, as well.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to talk. I'm excited. It's been a little bit since you've been on, so I'm going to ask you the $1 million question because perspectives change. You learn new things. So
Yep.
what makes a construction champion?
I think a construction champion from a business perspective is someone who recognizes their business as more than just a means to make a living. That they're building their business in a way that it is in and of itself, its own entity, its own product, and its own system. And it has a much more potential than just generating revenue and putting money in the bank, which hopefully is working for a lot of contractors. But I think that's the big differentiator between the real champions that kind of reach that goal of being financially free and not tied to their business, not working 70, 80 hours, just to eke out a living, but actually building a process-oriented construction business that's worth something at the end of the day, beyond just the owner's input and constant attention.
That's a very high level thought process over this. to really be looking at it from a more holistic perspective than what it just creates for you short term, but what it can create for you long term between legacy and just value for your family and those around you and your employees. I love that. That I don't know if we've had it answered like in that perspective before, and we're, like 270 episodes into this.
Yeah, and I think it's where I went astray here myself. Like I'm speaking from experience, where you start the business, you want to grow, and you've the usually when you start a business, it's for two main reasons. I mean, they're kind of interrelated. One is to make more money, and with that comes the freedom that more money can bring you, right? Um, and where things kind of go astray is always reaching for higher revenues and trying to grow and push the business. And there's this natural sort of cycle where you're really grinding and hustling in the first maybe 3 to 5, even 10 years. And then you get this sort of mass effect where you're known in the industry, you've got referrals, you've built up this reputation. You go to scale and grow because you feel that's the way to kind of get out of this grind. You build some management teams and things like this, but without realizing the foundations of systems and processes aren't there, and things start to fall apart, becomes messy. Uh, and whatever problems you had when you were kind of at that level are now multiplied. So you've got 2, 3 times the problems with, 2, 3 times the revenue. And that's often where a lot of contractors get stuck, and also where some guys can find themselves 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and they still haven't really realized that freedom that they wanted. They may be making money and the money's pretty good, but they haven't been able to take that step back from the business and actually have the business as a product, as its own entity without the owner's constant attention. So there's that divide there.
Well, yeah, you're so right because I watch people do this. Uh, I talk to people and try to help them not do that. Is they think hiring is the
Mhm.
solution to everything, but they don't even have a solid foundation to bring
Yeah.
people into. And that's the standard operating procedures you're talking about is like you can't hire yourself out of a bad foundation of a business. All you do is amplify it, you make it worse. And at the end of the day, it's just waiting to crumble.
Yeah, and it's not resilient, right? With like BuilderComs, you're helping with that systems and the communication and having something that's more than just, like the people are so important and they're a big part of the business, but they need those support systems in place so everyone knows this is how you communicate, this is how you operate, this is, how we can figure things out. And the thing with hiring as well, like you hit the nail on the head there, where if you're hiring but you don't have a good system process documented, some sort of training materials, so when you're bringing someone in, you've got an onboarding checklist of things they need to learn and skills they need um, to get better at, and what they should be doing. The owners sort of replaced themselves with someone else, but now the business is relying on that other person. If that person quits or gets fired or something happens to them, they have to leave the business. Is the same situation with the owner. It's the business is fully dependent on the people and their experience and knowledge. So you always need to bring in people that are going to have different experiences, different knowledge bases, different ways of doing things, and that's kind of breeds that inconsistency within the business. So much better to think through that process. All businesses have a process, even if the owner is the only one using it. You have a process. You know how to do things. You know how to do things well because you've grown this business. You're the expert. So take that expertise and that way that you do things, think it through, refine it, put it on paper. The first iteration doesn't have to be anything huge. It can be very streamlined, straightforward as much as possible. And then you build from there, right? Every new hire is an opportunity to go through your onboarding, your SOPs, your training materials and make adjustments. So every time you have someone new coming in the business, you're improving that system, that process, that role. And that's how you have a business that continues to get better, even without the owner being directly working with, those new hires and things like that.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I say I'll just carry a notebook around and write down everything that you do and how you do it, what went well, what didn't. Because people are like, I have no idea what systems and processes are. And I'm like, well, you've been doing this for 3 years. You're doing something. You need to
Mhm.
start tracking that. And that starts to become the beginning of what this looks like. I know for guys like me and you, this kind of stuff is day one table stakes. Like this is stuff we look at as you need to be working on this from day one. Everything should be about creating the system, the process around that. But there's a huge gap between how we think and how people typically do it, where they get down the road 3, 5 years and they're like, I need to start setting this stuff up and I have no idea what to do. I should have did this earlier. What do you say to not just those people, but the people that are listening that are just starting out, that are putting this down the road because they don't think it's something we need to do right now?
Mhm. Yeah, a few things there. If you're already down the road and you've got a a contracting business with 5, 10, 15 employees, you're doing well, but you know that it's just kind of been built haphazardly, reach out to us. It's what we do, and we'll definitely help you out. We've got all this stuff built out and customized and tailored to contractors, custom home builders, general contractors. Um, so that's the easy way. I mean, reach out for some help. But if you are going to tackle this yourself, you want to get started, it's easier. It's now easier than ever. So that's the good news for sure. And as the business owner, another kind of key mindset is not how, but who. So you don't have to do everything yourself, especially if you've already grown a business and you can afford to hire some help and things like that with this, or you've already got an admin person or a personal assistant. They're probably better off You're probably better off having them create this for you than yourself because they're like, they're in the office, they're used to the documents and writing, and they probably know, the tech side of things a little better anyways. So essentially you do a download, tell this person, it could even be like ChatGPT or something like that, and just talk through. I know, like myself, I don't enjoy writing. I'm okay at it, but it's not something I particularly like to spend my time doing. But it's a necessity of life. But that said, you can either talk to someone, you can transcribe what you're talking about, have someone else take down the high level notes. It'll be messy. It'll be kind of everything at once, but at least you have a starting point. And then from there, you can pick out, okay, so let's back this up. What's the first thing we need to do? Okay. And then after that, what's the second thing? And you don't have to build out a ton of detail of like exactly, open this or click here, like all those little minute things. You'll get there. But at first, it's just like, what's the big 5 to 10 steps? And then from there, you slowly kind of build it out and work on it further. But that would be my suggestion. That'll get you to the point where you have the process, you have the document, so you've passed kind of that first hurdle, so to say, or that first piece of work that you need to do. The the big challenge that I've found is it's not so much having the document or the SOP or the technology software. It's utilizing it in a way that makes sense and getting your people on board. And that's really where the coaching comes in. Like I said, we have all these documents. We've produced hundreds of different types of SOPs and documents. We can give that to a contractor, but that doesn't mean they're going to be successful with it. And it doesn't mean that they're going to use it properly, because they're not. You're going from 0 to 300 in a millisecond, and it's just your face is going to peel off, right? Like you're, it's too much all at once, and you've got to kind of walk before you run, sort of thing. Uh so that implementation is definitely where the challenge comes in, and for that, like, the coaching really helps to kind of see the bigger picture and know where should we focus. Let's plug this in. Okay, our guys, we're having this issue, or this keeps popping up, and we can work through that a lot quicker. um but realize that that's going to be the molasses, if you will, to getting systems in place, is the implementation part of it, of actually getting the results and where the rubber meets the road, getting adoption from your people. And the quickest answer of how to do that properly is focus and do one small thing at a time.
Mm.
Often it's like, we got to build systems, so we get this new software and we try to use all these different things, and it's just like, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work how they envision, and then it kind of gets scrapped or put on the side and they go back to old habits or old ways of doing things. So that's a very, very common thing that comes up. And by focusing, working on something until it's implemented, small pieces at a time, it's the adoption is much quicker, and it lasts, because everyone's sort of used to it. They're working on it. It's, built out. Okay, now we kind of go on to the next thing. And prioritization and focus is the big insight there.
Yeah, and it's a couple of things we're not good at necessarily. It's implementation and prioritizing and focusing on singular things. But that's how you implement long-term big change. We think like we go into it with this band-aid approach where we're just going to rip it off, put it all out there, and then you just destroy everything because no one even knows. But you got to introduce this stuff over time and have a plan. It's not like you get it together and it's just there.
Yeah.
It's a very calculated thing, and I don't think people think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, there's definitely a plan. Like for us early with clients, we go through an assessment and appraisal framework, to really get a clear picture of where do we prioritize, what's the first things we're going to work on, what's the low hanging fruit where we can get some quick wins, and then being structured with our approach. Because as the business owner, sometimes you're an entrepreneur, you're used to change, you see that picture and you can maybe figure this out pretty quickly. But when you're having other people in your company use this stuff, there's that change management that happens. It's also, there's that leadership that needs to come into place, which I mentioned earlier. There's a certain level of leadership to be able to facilitate those conversations of, we're doing this now and this is why, and I know it's not how everyone's done it before, and you may not agree with it or like it, but I'm asking you to do this because I think it'll move our company forward and it'll be easier, and this way we can track this, or we can grow as a company or whatever it may be. So there's these other skills, like on the leadership and communication side, which very well about the communications, that are involved with building systems and build a business that often people don't see as well, because they're thinking more it's tech or it's an SOP or it's this, but there's a lot of leadership and communication and soft skills that are involved with bringing this stuff into practice as well. One like pro advice that I would give to people kind of getting started with this building systems is, I like to think of things in chronological order. So depending where your business is at, but usually we're starting kind of early on in the marketing, lead gen, and branding, because we want to front load our production with leads, clients, customers, and we want to have more demand than we can handle. Not because we necessarily want to grow really quickly, but because we want to cap our production, increase our demand so we can get the pricing we want. We don't have to worry about leads. We can level off some more consistency through the business. And then from there, chronologically, you just kind of work through it. So marketing, branding, then you're going to have a new lead. You're going to have to estimate, provide a proposal, a budget for that client. Then maybe you go into pre-construction. Then you're going into project management or client relationships. So that is usually a good way to build out systems, is to kind of start at the front with the marketing, sales, branding, and then kind of move through to the end. Now, during our assessments, we kind of figure out if there's any glaring pitfalls, if you will, and financials is often a big one too that you got to put in the mix there somewhere, because it's super important, and it's another one where it's like, it's a little bit of a gray area, I think, for a lot of people, especially newer entrepreneurs or people that just really never are familiar with the financial side of business. So it sort of gets glossed over, and it's not well understood. But it's essentially the flashlight in the dark, your financials and the statements, and knowing how to manage your finances properly. So keep you out of a lot of trouble. And I attribute it to sailing your ship in the dark. Essentially, if you don't know your financials, you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you are, you're kind of like, up the creek without a paddle, so to say. So that's also a good area to focus on. But yeah, pick one, get it done, and then move on to the next one.
I mean, I love the systematic approach to this. Like you're giving a master class here on like the strategic thing around this. Like we just think about, oh, I'll go on Chat GPT, or I'll grab this template online and we'll just say this is our SOPs and we'll roll it out, and man, somebody order a cake. It's going to be a fantastic day. But there's a lot of things that strategically have to be thought about to be able to do this. Because for one, like you address, people do not like change. Even if
Yeah.
you aren't changing anything, if you're just literally documenting what they do every day, putting it into a document and then giving it to them so they know they're going to be like, oh, hold on a minute. What is going on here? Like, it doesn't matter if it's something I already do all day, every day. I don't want to have, like, I don't want it to be like this. Like, people do not like that. So we have to strategically think, or else people will leave. It'll create real uncertainty in your business real quick.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the byproducts of rolling out some systems and processes, is you're gonna have guys that maybe don't agree with it or don't enjoy it, or might give you the thumbs up but never really, but when the boss is gone, it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that, um, sort of thing. So you'll have to mitigate for that. There is also just a natural churn of a business. Like, hopefully you have employees for many, many years, but even if the older guys aren't 100% on board and it takes longer for them, any new guys coming to your company, it's just going to be the way that you do business, and it's going to make sense to them. Um, and and at least they will know from day one what's expected of them and things like that. And if you've built a good team and people respect you and you're doing right by your employees, most people will give you the time of day, and they may not be super happy about it, but they should have that respect and understanding that, the business does have to be healthy to make sure everyone gets their paychecks, and a growing business is beneficial for everybody at the company, and things like that. So as long as there's that mutual understanding, and you're honestly doing right by your employees and want the best for them, then um, those there's a way forward. It may just take some time. You may have a few outliers that are old school and just don't want to do this or that, and sometimes you've got to be somewhat flexible, and that's fine. And sometimes you have younger guys do things for the older guys on their behalf, like sending site pictures at the end of the day, or using a new app that they got. If you have to, if you got a guy that's still has like a Nokia, phone without texting or something like that, and then they're out there. I've talked to some of my clients who've got employees that have been there for 30 years, and they're like not getting a smartphone, don't want that stuff, and they're amazing people and they can build like anybody, but it's they're just not open to changing. But you got a new guy on site, just tell them, hey, you know what? Take some pictures, send it to me. At the end of the day, you give them a bit of responsibility. The old guy's happy because he doesn't have to do it, and you make it work.
But I mean, that's all when you talk about that, the coaching and the leadership aspect, is this is all stuff that you probably need some guidance walking through, because every situation is different within, SOPs are pretty standardized these days. Like you said, we have this information, but people are not, and every business is not. So having the ability to have somebody that has the experience look at it and say, hey, this is what I have seen, this is your best way to move forward with this, and then hold you accountable to doing it, because like the only way that new guy shows up, and this is how we do it from day one, is if you are accountable to doing this every day and just saying, this is just how we do it. So then that new person has that experience, and that's just how they always do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much correct on that, on those points there. And a number of things I'll sort of unpack here. The first one being that there is a lot more once you dig down and get below the surface of, just SOPs or technology. And it becomes more and more evident to me with every new client we have and every day. I started this journey of like, I want to build out like a full program to systematize general contracting businesses. And we've done that over the past 4 years or so. And that's been a full-time, project for myself, working with clients and building out systems in this program that we've developed. So, it's taken us 4 years and we're still constantly improving and finding better ways and better use cases and other, kind of specific one-offs, if you will, of different contractors and how they do things. So for a regular contractor who's got a million and one things to do, is already overloaded with just operating the business they already have, to put this stuff in place, you know, you're looking at maybe 10 years, to really 5 to 10 years, depending on how quick you can move. And that's still probably not going to get you to as high a level as you might think, just because it's not your day job, right? You're a builder, you're running your business, you got everything else. You don't need to be technology or systems expert. There's people like us out there that do this. So that's sort of the first thing I think to realize is, yes, you can do this yourself. You can use ChatGPT, you can get some SOPs in place, and anything is better than nothing. At least you're thinking about it and you're trying to build those out. But having someone in your corner that's already gone through this with number of other similar type businesses, it's just you're gonna get that initial jump start way beyond anything that you'd be able to do by yourself. And then additionally to that, like you mentioned, now you've got someone in your corner. You've got someone helping you, helping with strategy, helping you with issues and roadblocks and pitfalls and challenges and blind spots and all that kind of stuff that'll come up, plus holding you accountable and giving you the path forward. Whenever we finish a coaching call, we always set objectives. So we have coaching calls every 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, here's the top 3 to 4 items that you need to accomplish, you need to get done. Usually they're implementation based, because depending on the coaching package, but usually, like, we've got the system, we've got the documentation, we can sort of provide that. It's just taking the ball and running with it, as far as like getting it into the employees' hands or getting the employees on board or certain specific things. So having that accountability and those clear objectives just help you move so much faster, because now you're not, hacking your way through the jungle, but you've got a straight path to get to go where you want to get to.
Absolutely, man. Man, this has been a fantastic conversation today. I have absolutely loved it. I think you took something that, it's like financials when you're talking about SOPs. Like, people just kind of glaze their eyes over, and you made it into a way that was very understandable for everybody from a high level and just getting started. So for everybody listening, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about what you do, follow you, where's the best places for them to do that?
Definitely. So check out our website, rapidresultcreators.com. You'll find links to our social profiles there to connect on social media. We've got a bunch of free resources and courses that you can take and utilize to build out your business. And if you're a general contractor, you want to connect and learn more about our coaching programs, we've got a discovery strategy call that you can book from the website as well.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Ron. It's been a great time.
Awesome. All right, Construction Champions, another episode in the bay. And I think we probably all learned something here today about SOPs are a lot more than paperwork. There's a lot more involved. There's leadership, there's thought process, there's strategy. It's not about just typing something out and thinking you're now squared away as a business. I think that's where we can go wrong. And we know anybody's been listening to us for a while, there's a lot of you out there that have been, is you guys know I'm a component of experts. I have experts around me. I would continue to have experts around me. And I believe every business owner is doing themselves a disservice if you're not surrounding yourself with experts. I know it's like a key thing. Like people, it's a real overcome like the whole environment of all of that, from consulting to coaching to I understand it's noisy, but there's great guys out there like Derek. There's great women out there doing this that can actually have a huge impact on your business. And like I always say, is you're not just buying their ability to help you implement to be able to get to where you want to go. You're also buying their knowledge base that you do not have access to. You do not have for anything you want to do. We're talking about SOPs here. So you do not have access to the data that Derek has when it comes to SOPs. Like you just don't. And that right there is worth its weight in gold. And we underestimate the actual value of the collective information that those that we put around us have on our life and our business. It's why I surround myself with experts. It's not because I think they're cool to hang out with. It's because if I am working with somebody that's working with 20 other businesses in the same spot that I am in, trying to do what I'm doing, they have access to 19 other data points that I do not, to help me make decisions on what I'm doing with my business. That is the power in bringing people in that understand certain parts of business and they work within a niche, and then they help you. And one of the ways they do that is they help you by bringing in resources that they have learned over years of doing it in current data points. They see trends, they understand what will work and what won't work. So with like my whole rant on that is don't experiment when you don't have to. Like you don't have to experiment. You can just make it happen. Bite the bullet on this stuff. If it's out of your wheelhouse, be honest. This is out of my wheelhouse and I should probably get help. I know we're all fixers in this industry. We're always fixing something. We figure we can just get it done. Your business, your finances, your report is not a job site. Don't try to fix it like it's one. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. You can find me all over social media. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.